Well, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? Good. Well, thanks for coming out. It's my pleasure to talk with you for a little bit about Western Oregon University and where we are as a community today. I have a theme of Powered by Place, and I hope you'll see what I'm talking about as I go through the talk today. We have a few people in attendance I'd like to recognize. Senator Deb Patterson is with us. Kathy Martin Willis on behalf of Paul Evans, representatives here. The mayors of Independence and Monmouth, John McCardle and Cease Kuntz, are here. Cease is also a Board of Trustee member, and so is Cass Wansowitz, who's also joining us. And my partner, Susan Kanata, is here as well. And if you remember last year, my mother was here, which was one of the great sort of experiences of her life. She was very proud and happy to be here, and you all treated her so warmly. She could not be here, but I think she's able to watch it online if we have it set up for her. If not, we'll record it and let her watch it. So shout out to Margaret Peters. All right, so first I'd like to take a moment to recognize that the place we are in today is the traditional and contemporary homelands of indigenous peoples and nations. I encourage you to spend time considering these histories and connect them to your own. We are all physically tied to the land. The cells in our bodies are rejuvenated through sustenance that comes from land, and the water we are mostly made of must be replenished daily. A good friend of mine once told me that you must think of the body as a river, and how we manage the quality of that flow, how we are mindful of our body and our spirit affects how we are in the world. Poet Natalie Diaz has written this about rivers. We think of our bodies as being all that we are. I am my body. This thinking helps us disrespect water, air, land, and one another. But water is not external from our body, our self. My elder says, cut off your ear and you will live. Cut off your hand and you will live. Cut off your leg, you can still live. Cut off our water, we will not live more than a week. The water we drink, like the air we breathe, is not a part of our body, but is our body. What we do to one, to the body, to the water, we do to the other. Historically, this cycle of understanding and existing was completely local. So there was a tangible and very real connection to land and community, to sustainability and survivability. Through technological change, migration, colonization, and shifting economic systems, much of that literal tie to local landscape and community as a source of life has shifted. And we drink water from the French Alps, and we eat apricots from Turkey. We connect to each other across digital platforms and video. Many people travel further and faster and more often than ever before. We are digital creatures flooded with images and information. We are TikTokers and Instagrammers at WOU President. And some would argue we are more disconnected and distracted than any humans in history, losing our sense of community and reliance on physical location. But at the same time, we are still very connected to place. And Western Oregon University is powered by place. We are in a rolling valley close to rivers, mountains, and coastline. We are rural, yet close to the state capital. Just last week, I heard from 4 different people. They commented how beautiful and special our physical campus is. Let's take a minute to applaud our facility services team and grounds crew who work to make this campus beautiful. Someone recently said to me, if more people could just see your campus, lots and lots of students would choose to be there. Well, they are about to see us. We are moving in new directions with our marketing, admissions, and communication strategies. We are tightening our branding and messaging, placing us in a better position to articulate what's unique about our place. Next week, you will see a film crew on campus filming an episode of the college tour that will stream on national platforms, including Amazon Prime. The episode will showcase our place, but it will also speak to who we are, and 10 of our students will talk about their experiences here. So who are we? We know we are, but what does that mean? What experiences are unique to us as an institution? Lots of schools are small. Lots of schools support students. So what sets us apart? Let's take a look at some data points as we think about who we are in this place, at this time, in this community, as we consider our own river flowing among us. And they've told me I can move around, so be ready. I'm going to pause on this slide a little bit to give folks time to look at some of the data before I talk about it. So our institutional research team has pulled together some great statistics. I know a lot of you are interested in statistics when we think about who we are as a community and what students attend here. Notice that we have a lot of in-state students. We have a lot of students of color as well as students identifying as white. We have students who are Pell eligible. We have a very high number of first-generation students. And we can also look at the makeup of the class, and you can visibly see the bubble that we're still experiencing, where we have high numbers of students at a senior level and lower numbers as freshmen. Many people have asked, what is our percentage of Latinx students? And it's 22%, but as you'll see later, it's actually a greater percentage of undergraduates than 22%. 4-year and 6-year graduation rates. I like to show this because we still have a lot of work to do on this front. And I think we all know that we can do better on this. We're hovering around 30% on our 4-year graduation rate. The 6-year graduation rate is better, but it's a little bit down from the cohorts of the last 2 years as well. So we have some things to do. Some of that I'm sure we could attribute to the things that happened during a global pandemic. Lots of fluctuations. Things happened in different states and different communities to affect a lot of the statistics of those classes coming out of high school and into college and how they may be successful or not. This slide is the undergraduates, fall 22 in our 4th week census time. And again, as you see, the seniors, there were many, many more than the freshmen. And so that's one of the issues we face on our enrollment as we're graduating more people than we perhaps have brought in the past. So we call that the bubble sometimes that's flowing through our admissions. This slide is very interesting to me because I showed you this last year, those of you who were here, and it's really a good indication of what's happened at Western, but not just here, at many other regional institutions where enrollment has been declining, but at the same time expenses rise. And we really saw that with inflation in the last, say, 1.5 to 2 years. Lots of expenses have been rising. But what I really would like for you to think about is at the end here, this gray decline, oh, here we go. Doesn't matter, look at the end of the gray line. There's a decrease there, and that decrease came from this community coming together to reduce expenses last year. And we saved over $3 million just by our on-campus efforts to do that. That is not the $5 million that we cut from our operating base budget. Those are savings that were realized last fiscal year. So enrollment also declined. We knew that going into last year. But I'll say a little bit more later, but if we can start to see the gray line going down or staying flat and the red line going up, we have a better chance to go back to what we see at the first part of that graph. So this is a good slide that we need to spend some time looking at. Again, this is a projected number, but look at our retention rate, 76%. Yes. I mean, that is an amazing number. That is a jump. If that holds, that's a 6% jump. And that means that good things are happening here, that we're working with students and keeping them persistent and keeping them on track. They're coming back, and we expect them to take the full journey and graduate. But that kind of retention rate also helps us, not only because we want the students to succeed, but also it helps us financially and be more sustainable. There's the enrollment that we don't like to talk about over time. And again, I didn't want to put up any projected numbers, and people ask me a lot, like, what is enrollment looking like? Well, the answer is enrollment is really trending in a direction that I think we might be very happy to see, but we're going to wait until census to really fully embrace it. But I feel like people have worked really hard to bring in a freshman class, and that coupled with a higher retention rate, we could be in a position to see our enrollment flat, which would be wonderful, or maybe even a little up for the first time in a decade. So, we'll see. And then finally, this slide is for undergraduate students in fall of _22. And if you noticed, these are the iPads categories that we use to turn in our data points. And Hispanic is 24% undergraduates. And when we get to 25%, that's the first major step for being a Hispanic serving institution through the federal designation system. So people have wondered about that statistic, and I wanted to share that with you as well. So, what are the takeaways? First, we have a very diverse student body that is almost 25% Latinx, 46% first generation, 40% Pell eligible, and 38% students of color. Though we are almost 80% in-state students, we also draw students from many Western states, including Alaska and Hawaii. And if you put all that together, the varied lived experiences among the students at Western is amazing. And for me, it's a beautiful thing. And I think we are all privileged to work in that kind of environment. And in order to support those students to the best of our ability, we must recognize that their needs are complex and changing. In 2019, this was pre-pandemic. I have a very clear memory of sharing this article when it came out with people at my previous institution and us talking about it. The New York Times published an article titled, "I Was a Low-Income College Student. Classes Weren't the Hard Part," by Anthony Jack. He writes, "Even if they make it to dorms on leafy green campuses, disadvantaged students still live in poverty's long shadow. They worry about those back home just as much as those back home worry about them." The point he wants to make, and he's drawing from his own personal experiences, is that institutions must start to deliberately and carefully engage with the experiences of their students and use that knowledge to design better support systems. As he goes on to say, it requires colleges and universities to question what they take for granted about their students and about the institutions themselves. And to do this, they'll need more than an algorithm. What's needed is a deeply human touch. At Western Oregon University, if we can excel at this type of approach to student support, then no institution can. We are already well on the way, and employees here have been doing this good work for decades, but we're ready to do more. So I challenge myself and all of you to lean into what we can achieve for our students at Western. The second takeaway from this data is that we are dealing with our fiscal reality and sustainability in responsible ways. Last year, this community worked hard to cut spending as a way to preserve more of our fund balance and give us more time to make needed changes. It's that gray graph I talked about. We will need to continue making those types of choices during this fiscal year. We also see an increase in the retention rate, and if the numbers hold, maybe a flat or perhaps a slight increase in overall enrollment. And as I said, if that happens, it'll be the first time in a decade at Western. So let's take a minute to recognize the hard work put in by the admissions team, the advising team, new student and family program team, and many other employees on this campus to make that stuff happen. So things are changing because of you, and everyone has an impact on enrollment. You've heard me say that before. I'll say it again, student success is everyone's job. So let's applaud for everybody who works to make our students successful. So last year I closed by saying this: there's a fine line between concern and hope. Things will take time to turn around, and there will be more frustrations and challenges, but the strength to reach our goals is here, and I feel it every day on this campus. So I hope you are as hopeful as I am. I hope that you see our struggles as moments that teach us how to be better, to see better, to do better. This is who we are, this is WOU, and this is personal for me. Let's start getting it done. So that was what I ended with, and it was an interesting moment because you didn't know me that well, and I didn't know you that well. Now it's a very different day. I feel such a strength in the community. It really pushes me forward every time I think about what we really can accomplish here. But what did we get done last year? I've got a list of things I wanted to highlight, and I want to emphasize the we as we go through this. None of this could have happened without teams of WOU employees coming together and focusing on what we had to do during difficult and stressful times. And this is only a condensed list of the things that we did together. We formed enrollment working groups to better strategize: admission to enrollment, student success and retention, visibility and outreach, student feedback. We improved website and social media presence using new strategies and expanding advertising in the region. We engaged software solutions such as Slate, Navigate, and EdSites to manage student communications, outreach, and advising. We launched a campus equity assessment process and presented Phase 1 findings to the campus. Phase 2 will be coming out very shortly. We implemented a new process to examine and revise policies with an eye towards inclusivity and access. We formed an HSI advisory committee to guide us as we seek federal HSI designation. We hosted the second annual HSI Summit, which with a collaborative focus this time, invitations sent to leaders across the state. We joined Presidents for Latino Student Success through Excelencia in Education. We expanded the President's Cabinet to include deans, faculty senate presidents, staff senate president, and WOU President. We hired a Title IX coordinator and implemented required Title IX trainings for all of our employees. We worked collaboratively, as I've mentioned, to cut $5 million from our base budget. We adjusted our spending and saved over $3 million last year. And we developed maps to 5,000 students in 5 years, along with maps to fiscal sustainability, which was a major part in helping us complete our NWCCU reaccreditation process. We worked to tell the narrative of Western and all the truths to the legislature and saw a slight rise in the PUSF this year. We launched both an internal and an external newsletter to better communicate with each other. And we started a strategic planning process focused on the following priorities: placing students at the center of everything we do, centering equity, diversity, and inclusiveness, developing and improving systems to better serve the community, and connecting with local, state, and regional needs. And finally, we came together as a community to witness the graduation of 800 students. Yeah. That was a good day. It was a ceremony that, for me, was a symbolic marker of coming out of the pandemic, as well as a celebration of the power of this place of being together. And our lead-off slide, the students throwing their hats in the air, was a moment full of energy and happiness and joy and connection for all of the community and those students in particular. So you all know I believe a place is about the people. When people share their experiences about Western, they most often talk about the people they connected with, the individuals who mentored them, guided them, taught them, and supported their journeys. The strength of the people is why I wanted to come here, and is why my passion for the success of this institution grows every day. So where will our collective passions for Western take us this year? How will the drive to see students succeed motivate all of us? We did some big things last year, some necessary things, some hard things, and we are not done. And in many ways, we are just getting started. So here are a few of the main goals I think we'll be focusing on for this academic year. So we're going to continue our strategic planning process. It's well underway under the leadership of Judy Silva. People are coming together to give input, to evaluate the previous plan, and to push us into new directions so we can articulate really what it is we want to do and who we want to be as an institution. We're going to continue looking at our policies. Some of that will come out of the equity assessment process, but other reviews of policies will come from individuals who notice issues and problems so that we can address those. We're going to implement restructure strategies to improve efficiencies in academic affairs. Provost Cole has taken the information that was developed out of the planning process last time and is starting to think about the implementation strategies to improve academic affairs structurally. We're going to engage our external constituents more often. So you might wonder what I mean by that exactly. Last year, I had to put a lot of energy into the campus, on campus, in person here. And now I think we have a team of people who are ready to lead, and I need to also put a lot of energy into making sure that this state understands the power of this place. A good example of that was the time I recently spent in Pendleton. People say, well, why do you go to Pendleton? Well, it was a time where I got to talk to the governor 3 times during that trip and talk to her about what I think Western is capable of and how we're a partner in doing great things in Oregon. You know, it's a time to meet constituencies and alumni and have conversations with the other presidents about strategies for higher education. So those are the types of things that I need to do for this institution as well. We're going to strengthen our media footprint and admission outreach using some new strategies. Telling the stories is big. I think you all know that. If you know anybody looking for colleges, they talk about the things that they see in digital worlds, and they're starting younger and younger to notice institutions and to decide. I met a guy the other day, and he said, my daughter's determined to go to Western. And I said, oh, is she a senior, junior? He said, no, she's 10. Which is good to hear, but she's already thinking about this institution. We want to improve our systems of student support and engagement, back to the point about being very deliberate about who goes to school here, what they need, what they've experienced, and how we can adapt and change in ways that help them be successful. It's important to me, particularly the first generation students, as I am one myself. Implement recommendations from the equity assessment. The equity assessment, as you know, is a hard process. It points to things that can be hurtful. It points us in directions that we know we need to address, and it can shatter our security blanket of thinking that we do things great. We do things great, but we don't always do everything great, and that's just the way it is for human beings. And so we have got to be honest about that, and that assessment is pushing us in those directions. And one of the most, I guess, reassuring things that happened to me was when phase 1 of that assessment was presented to people, and some of it was negative about how our students and our community experience things. People were not defensive. They were hurt. Sorry. And I think if they feel that way emotionally, then we can do some stuff. Defensiveness is like, oh, they just don't understand. What I'm doing is great. But if you're hurt a little bit, you know you can do better. So I was so happy to see that reaction. And then finally, there's 2 more things. We're going to improve our internal systems so we can work more effectively. We need to do things more efficiently, whether that's through software or our systems of planning. We need to be able to move more in an agile way as we're serving students. So we have some things that are archaic and too slow. We got to really think about where to invest and how. And then we're going to build on our strong community and energy at Western, because it's here all the time. You guys know it's here. That's why you love it, and in your love for it. Candidates who come here talk to me in my office or at dinner about you. I mean, they say things about, our academic programs, they say things about our buildings, but they mostly say the people I met are incredible. The team here is awesome. So it's a testament to the things that you do so very well. So back to my original question. What sets us apart? First, let me begin with some specifics that I think illustrate the answer to the question. Again, these are just a few moments that speak to what so many of you do every day. Our HR team has launched initiatives to better engage with employees across campus, building trust and community. Donna Voss has created financial literacy resources for students. Rebecca Childs worked with student organizations to make sure that they could get a peace poll established on our campus. Jane Cameron Jensen works to ensure dining operations meet the needs of our community. Crystal Ross makes sure every student who enters the Student Health and Counseling Center feels seen and heard. Y'all can cheer whenever you want to. Yeah. Juan Amador makes sure the residence halls are always clean and inviting for our students. Andy Morning stepped up to help logistics for alumni and donor events when we were short-staffed. Yep. Zach Hammerly, this was in a lot of press, and the students in the Outdoor Climbing Club helped save a child's life who was injured during the fall. Coach Octavius Gillespie led the men's and women's student athletes to GNAC Indoor Track and Field Championships. Yep. Coach Kellen Walker led the student athletes to both the regular season and the GNAC Tournament Baseball Championships. Our faculty produced over 90 publications last year while delivering excellent courses. And it's not just that. They also engage in professional development, and they guide students every day, always looking for new pedagogical solutions to how they can better serve those students. They talk about it, we hear it, and those classrooms are amazing. Henry Hughes won the 2023 Sherwin W. Howard Poetry Award. Melanie Landon Hayes received the Outstanding Contribution to Public Awareness Award from AFT Oregon. Ricardo Pellegrino Toboada received a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship. Jaime Marroquin received the Stanford Humanities Center for External Faculty Fellowship. The WOU Chamber Choir performed at the Oregon State Capitol, and many students, trustees, faculty, and staff engaged in true lobbying days coordinated by Ricardo Lujan Valerio. Those are just a few people, and anytime you list people, you're leaving people out who do amazing things every day. So I'm well aware of that. These employees, along with so many others, illustrate the desire to engage with new ideas, to break new ground, all while focusing on the students of Western. They feed the river in a good way. So what sets us apart is the fact that we are student-focused at an institution that believes in the power of diversity to be a positive, transformative force. So let me say it again. You believe in the power of diversity to be a positive and transformative force. Diversity of ideas, diversity of experience, diversity of body, diversity of opinion, diversity of identity, diversity of philosophy. We know that an institution of higher education provides opportunity for students. It allows them access to degrees that lead to career pathways. But it is not only about career. A university is a place of learning. Students don't come to Western simply to get jobs. They come here to learn things. And the best learning environments in the world are the ones that encourage and hone critical thinking skills, that demand innovative thinking, that demonstrate collaboration, that develop communication skills. And because of our diversity, because of our commitment to being open and inclusive as we educate, this institution is poised to set some new standards and to lead in innovative ways. And I say that knowing we have much work to do, and I know we won't always get things right, but that won't stop us from trying to be better and to do better. So, again, we're powered by place and we're run by people, traveling a river we maintain together. And we're going to be letting the whole world know about that, believe me. Recently, a big university that you might be familiar with let us know that they are a bit uncomfortable with the emerging narrative that the regionals are the places serving first-generation, low-income, and students of color of personalized service and community. Well, they can stay uncomfortable. We're going to be who we are. We're going to tell our story to more people more often. We're going to work to improve how we serve all of our students. We're going to be proud of the work we do, proud of each other, and proud of our graduates. And those graduates will continue to be the leaders in this state, in this region, in this country, and in this world. In community with kindness and respect, we are. Thanks. So we have some time for questions, and then after that we have a nice reception in the Pacific Room where we can mingle together, have more questions, more conversation. So I'll just open it up if there are any, and we have Brittany and Evan have microphones. It's important for us to use the microphone if you have a question so that we can make sure people can hear it on the recordings. Or we can just start eating too. Jackson! Standing between us and some refreshment, I don't know.
Just a quick comment. As we go to enjoy our refreshments and drinks, please make sure that we thank the staff who worked very hard and was unable to attend this event so we can celebrate together afterwards. So please give them your thanks.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. As Dion would say, where's my theme music? I don't know if I have any, though. But please, let's all walk together over to the Pacific Room and join with each other in community and kindness and friendship and talk about the good things to come. Thank you very much for being here.